The North Sea, off the coast of Norfolk, England, is not a gentle body of water. It is a vast, sleek gray expanse, moody and possessive, its waters churning with a cold that seeps into the bone. For millennia, it has advanced and retreated in a slow, grinding dance with the land, swallowing villages, reshaping cliffs, and guarding secrets in its shifting sandy vaults. Its waves do not crash with the tropical fury of an ocean, but with a persistent, grinding patience, as if slowly erasing a blackboard. It was this very patience, this relentless subtraction, that in the winter of 1998 chose to reveal something it had hidden for 4,000 years. On the foreshore near the village of Holm next to the sea, within the embrace of a protected berg reserve, the tides performed an extraordinary archaeological disclosure. They scoured away tons of sand and peat, and there, emerging from the glistening mud like the bones of a forgotten leviathan, was a circle. Not of stone, but of wood. 55 split oak trunks, each about the size of a man, rammed into the earth, forming a stark, ragged corona around a central upturned oak stump, its roots clawing at the sky like petrified lightning. It was a sight so stark, so profoundly other, that it seemed to silence the very wind. The locals would soon call it Seahenge, a name echoing its more famous stone cousin, Stonehenge. But its story, written in waterlogged oak and Bronze Age sorrow, would prove to be entirely its own. The discovery, John's story. John Lorimer was a man of the place. He knew the home marshes and beaches with the intimate, unthinking knowledge of a lifetime. He knew where the snipe would hide, how the light changed on the wash, and the peculiar, sucking sound the mud made at low tide. One bitterly cold day in late 1998, he was out on the vast exposed sands testing a new shotgun. The light was fading, the world reduced to shades of gray and dun. As he trudged back, something caught his eye. It wasn't a shape, not at first. It was a pattern, a disruption in the flat, featureless expanse of sand and peat. He walked closer, his boots sinking slightly, and then he saw them. The jagged, dark stumps arranged with an intention that the circle was small, intimate, only about 25 feet across. One could easily imagine touching a posts on either side. There was a single, narrow entranceway facing roughly southwest away from the prevailing sea. It felt less like a public monument and more like a private chamber. The silence within the circle was different, muffled, profound. Ghouls seemed to avoid flying over it. The team spoke in hushed tones. They weren't just extracting artifacts, they were dismantling a mood, a piece of frozen ritual. But why was it here, and what was its purpose? The theories began to form, shaped by the muddy evidence. The inverted central oak tree was the key. In many ancient cosmologies, the roots of the world tree connected the underworlds to the mortal realm. An upside-down oak tree, its roots in the air, could be seen as a channel, a pathway for something or someone to travel from this world to the next. This was no place for the living to gather for celebration. This was a place for the dead. The ghost in the timber, a Bronze Age hypothesis. To understand Seahenge, we must leave our modern skepticism on the shore and step into the mindset of people for whom the world was alive with spirits. The early Bronze Age was a time of transition. Metalworking was changing society, but old beliefs ran deep. The community that built Seahenge lived in a landscape they perceived as sacred. Forests, rivers, and the sea were not resources, but powerful entities. The leading theory, championed by Francis Pryor, is that Seahenge was a mortuary structure. It was not a tomb, but an exarchation platform. The body of a highly significant individual, perhaps a chieftain, a shaman, or a revered elder, was placed inside the timber enclosure, laid upon the central inverted oak ump. The narrow entranceway was then sealed. The purpose was not to preserve the body, but to aid the deliberate decomposition and the journey of the spirit. The circle acted as a spiritual containment field, keeping the powerful, potentially dangerous essence of the dead within, while the physical body was exposed to the elements and carrion birds. The sky burial, facilitated by the open crown of roots, would release the spirit cleanly to the heavens, while the surrounding posts, like sentinels, prevented it from wandering back to haunt the living. It was an act of sacred ecology, recycling the physical to liberate the spiritual, set in the liminal space between land and sea, itself a border between worlds. We can imagine the ceremony, a somber procession across the salt marshes, the body borne aloft, the chanting of elders, the scent of burning herbs mingling with the salt air, the solemn effort of positioning the body on the great roots, the final symbolic sealing of the entrance with a post. Then, the community's withdrawal, leaving their beloved leader to the sky, the wind, and the slow, sacred work of decay. For months, perhaps years, the empty circle would stand as a monument to this passage, before being abandoned to the encroaching peat, which gently swallowed it, guarding its secret for 40 centuries. The storm of controversy, a modern clash. When news of the discovery broke, it captivated the public. Seahenge was a media-friendly name, and the image of the sinister, sunken circle fired imaginations. But fascination soon curdled into conflict. The archaeologists, after a frantic conservation-led excavation, made a difficult decision: to remove the timbers. Their reasoning was scientific and urgent. Now exposed, the timbers were deteriorating rapidly. Marine worms, oxygen, and storm surges would destroy them within a few years. To save them, they had to be taken to a laboratory for preservation, study, and eventual public display. This decision ignited a firestorm. A coalition of modern druids, pagans, local protesters, and some archaeologists argued passionately against the move. To them, Seahenge was not an artifact to be looted, but a living temple. It had been placed in that specific, sacred location for a reason. Removing it, they contended, was a profound desecration, a repetition of colonialist archaeology ripping sacred objects from their context. They saw the archaeologists not as saviors, but as vandals with doctorates. The protests were intense. Campaigners, led by the charismatic Buster Nolan, chained themselves to the posts. They held vigils, chanting and leaving offerings of flowers and mead. The media descended, framing it as a classic battle: science versus spirituality, head versus heart. The archaeologists, feeling unfairly villainized, argued they were saving the very thing the protesters wanted to preserve. It was a tragic, unresolvable clash of good intentions. The protesters saw a shrine. The scientists saw a unique, dissolving page of history. Both were right. In the end, under police supervision and with heavy hearts on all sides, the timbers were carefully extracted, packed, and transported to the Mary Rose Trust in Portsmouth for conservation. The central stump followed later. The hole left in the home beach was backfilled, and the sea returned, washing over the empty scar as if nothing had ever been there. The silence that remained was different, charged with a modern kind of grief. The silent dialogue, conservation and homecoming. For nearly a decade, the timbers of Seahenge underwent a miraculous transformation. They were soaked in polyethylene glycol, PEG, a wax-like substance that gradually replaced the water in the wood cells, preventing them from crumbling to dust upon drying. It was a slow, expensive baptism, preserving their form and even the tool marks of their Bronze Age creators. During this time, study continued. The tree ring data was a revelation. Not only did it give the precise felling date of 2049 BC, but it showed all the oaks came from a single mature forest, likely within a few miles of the site. Even more poignant, the central tree and the posts were felled in the same spring or early summer. This was a single, deliberate project executed with purpose and speed by a coordinated community. The story became more intimate, not a monument built over generations, but a ritual act completed in a single season, likely driven by a specific, urgent death. The question of where this resurrected circle belonged loomed large. It couldn't go back to the beach, it would perish. In 2008, a home was found. The Lynn Museum in Lynn Kingsland, Norfolk, just miles from its original site, undertook a major renovation to create a permanent, dignified display. Here, half of the posts in the central stump have been reassembled in their original layout, housed in a climate-controlled gallery that mimics the low light and damp chill of the foreshore. Walking into the display is a deeply moving experience. The timbers, now dark and stable, tower over you. You can walk around the circle, peer at the axe marks, stand where the entrance was. The atmosphere is one of hushed reverence. It is not the wild, windswept context of home, but it is a sanctuary of a different kind, a place of learning and quiet contemplation, where the stones, now safe, can continue their silent dialogue with the present. Echoes in the landscape, the greater picture. Seahenge, it turned out, was not alone. During surveys, a second, larger timber circle, dubbed Home 2, was found just 100 meters away. This one, dating from the same period, was twice the size and may have served a complementary, perhaps more communal function. The two circles together suggest Home Beach was a significant ritual complex, a necropolis for the Bronze Age dead, positioned deliberately at the margin of the world. This placement is crucial. For Bronze Age people, the intertidal zone was a powerful liminal space, neither fully land nor fully sea, neither always dry nor always wet. It was a place of transformation, where elements met and blurred. What better place to stage the ultimate transformation of death? The rising tides might have been seen not as a threat, but as a purifying force, washing over the dead, connecting them to the otherworldly realm of the sea. Seahenge forces us to re-evaluate the Bronze Age. It shatters the image of primitive hut dwellers. These were people capable of sophisticated logistics, precise astronomy, the alignment of the entrance may have held calendrical significance, and profound, complex spiritual philosophy. They expressed this philosophy not in imperishable stone, but in organic, transient wood, accepting that their sacred architecture would eventually return to the earth. In its impermanence was its power.